Do you suffer from lifestyle deficit disorder? The purpose of the Perfect Day podcast is to share simple steps and strategies as a powerful antidote to lifestyle deficit disorder. Listen in as I reveal a path away from disillusionment and dissatisfaction to a life of purpose, joy, and freedom, making every day a perfect day. Welcome to the Perfect Day podcast, live from DownSouth. How exciting. I am Cokie, your Perfect Day engineer, and I am here with Kristin Cobb of Cupcake. And you know what? We're going to start with today, not only in gratitude, but just trying to demystify this idea of, in a world full of fear and scarcity and perfectionism, demystifying the idea that perfect days are far from being about perfect. However, perfect days are yours for the taking. So thank you for joining us. Kristin, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And so you got your start with Cupcake here in Charleston.
I did.
How exciting is it to have DownSouth here in Charleston, revving it up, bringing people in from all types of cities across the country? I mean, I've encountered people from New York, from Nashville, from Maryland. It's been a really fun conference. However, I love keeping it with our homegrown. You know, yesterday we had Carrie Morey with Callie's Biscuits, which is on King.
Yes.
And Cupcake is also on King.
Yes.
So we're bringing in the food love. So I'm so glad you're here. And I love it that we have these stories that we weave of perfect days and entrepreneurism with women, not only women, but mothers, because we're all busy and we're wearing tons of hats.
Yes.
And pre-show, we talked about that a little bit. You know, and we also led into about the E-myth, because it always leads me to wonder, especially with those who bake, if you've heard of the story of the E-myth and the pie baker. And if you don't know of this story, just in short, you know, it's about someone who has a love of baking pies, goes into the pie baking business, and then ends up, of course, hating baking pies. But you're the opposite of that. So,
I am.
so tell us your story.
Well, my story is a little different because when I opened my business, I wanted to be the business owner. So I didn't necessarily have a love of baking cupcakes. I baked all my life, but it was just at home. It's just something I enjoy doing. I don't have any training. So I went to college and got a degree in business and just always wanted to own my own business so that I could do all the different things. And I hired a baker right from the start. So that was never going to be my job to create.
So your passion was the business.
My passion was the
business.
And
not the cupcakes.
Yes, and I wanted to open it. I wanted to market it. I wanted to create this thing. That was what I wanted to do.
I love it. I love it. And this thing, I know because I've watched it grow, has grown and morphed into a beautiful, beautiful, large and overflowing cupcake.
Thank you.
So take us to beginning days, you know, and let me maybe guide you in this way. The Perfect Day podcast is really about sharing successes and strategies, but I think the secret sauce are the struggles. So if you're willing to share struggles, let me just say, did you have any? Did you have any out the gate? Do you have any today? And what have you done to shift? And maybe you don't. Maybe you just like to share with us strategies for how you've become so successful.
Well, how much time do you have?
Right. At this point, we've got 13 more minutes. No, I'm teasing.
I started this not knowing much about owning a business or what to do. I mean, I literally had my dad come up and help me once I found my space. He helped me do the construction on it. We did a lot of it ourselves. I had a $300 refrigerator from Walmart as my first refrigerator, and I had Costco mixers. So I was doing this in the least expensive way I knew how because I was trying not to take out loans. I know they don't like to loan money, banks don't like to loan money to restaurants and food businesses. So I didn't want to get involved in that. And I just grew as I could. I had a an old Volvo station wagon that we painted pink, and my dad fashioned a cupcake to go on top.
I remember the Volvo. Absolutely. Where is she? Does she still live and breathe?
No, she doesn't, unfortunately.
Oh, no. You should have retired her, like on top of a building somewhere or something. I mean, how cool. I remember the cupcake because I think when we would order cupcakes for a fundraiser, you would bring the car. It was part of the marketing and branding, which was such a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to round back to something you said. Is what you were saying, would that be helpful to listeners in terms of you bootstrapped it? You didn't want to get debt. You had a $300 refrigerator. Is this a route you would suggest? Or if listeners who wanted to start a new business were in maybe a different segment of business, maybe not in food service or food industry that you illuminated that banks really don't love lending to those types of, really banks don't like lending to any startups, to be quite frank. But is that, do you recommend bootlegging or bootstrapping?
I do. I mean, because I didn't have a sure thing.
It's a clean, organic start. Yes. Yeah.
And everyone thought I was nuts. So this was safe.
Yeah.
For me, and as I grew, I replaced things. As I realized I needed bigger mixers, stronger equipment, a better refrigerator, and that was kind of like a pat on the back. Wow,
I mean, what a novel concept, right? As we go to my background, which is in finance and financial planning, it's like, that's interesting. You actually abided by not outspending what you had.
Right.
Or outspending your revenues. And so when you made more, you bought more.
Yes.
You ramped up with more.
And I wanted everyone to think I was a franchise, so I tried to make it look that way, but I made a lot of the things.
How did you do that?
Signs and
making it look like a franchise. Did you spend more on, say, a marketing budget than a typical startup would?
I did not. I put cupcakes in the back of that pink Volvo, and I drove them up and down Broad Street and King Street and walked in and introduced myself.
That is awesome. So boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I love these stories.
And I think that may take longer than when I was opening other stores and I had more money to do it, but it was the way I needed to do it. I'm not a debt person, so it was good for me.
Well, I'm sure that saved you since you opened your first shop in the heart of a recession, 2008, yes?
No,
Did I get that right?
2006 was the first one.
Okay, so 2006, but a 2-year-old business going into a recession, that had to have been hard, and it had to have been easier because you didn't have debt.
Yes.
And you weren't saddled with debt.
Right, and I had a very small staff. So
nice.
I grew with it.
Was there anything you had to do different during the recession?
Well, I opened the second store in Mount Pleasant in 2008, and it just took off, like the first couple months, booming, and then it just dropped, and then it just sort of stayed that way. So it was that same thing of learning to not spend too much, but also in a recession, I kind of do better because I'm a small treat that people are willing to treat themselves to.
Right.
When they're not taking big vacations or they're not buying big cars and different things. I am a small treat. And I don't have all these other places of competition.
That's an interesting concept, something I didn't think about. So one of the things that struck me when we were speaking earlier was about you speaking to that you were not so much passionate about cupcakes and baking, but you were passionate about wanting to wear many hats as a business owner. In the book, in Perfect Day, we talk about a term that I've trademarked called lifestyle deficit disorder. And I see this all too often in the business owners that I work with. And it's just this perpetual hamster wheel that we get on. And we go in and out of LDD. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, and especially as a startup. It's been interesting. I've been asking startup entrepreneurs, do you think LDD is avoidable when starting a business? And I got to tell you, the answer I keep getting is no. And so getting through that phase is an interesting web that we weave, but even more mature businesses, we fall in and out of LDD. I don't know if you experience that, but a big culprit of LDD, there's a few, but one of them is wearing too many hats.
Yes.
So do you ever wake up and say, I'm wearing too many hats, even though it was something that you wanted to do initially? And which hats do you love to wear, and which hats do you hate to wear?
Yes, I absolutely do. And I continue to do it. And I think as a business owner, the best way to be more successful is to learn which ones you're better at and which ones you need to hand off to someone else.
Playing to your strengths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love to market and I love to create. So I love to brand and I love to kind of do the construction, have my hands in it, like create this whole brand that I have. That's probably one of my most fun things. Managing people, not my most fun thing.
I hear you.
But I do feel like as I read and as I grow, I'm learning to be better at that. But I hand off. I'm the creative mind, so I hand off a lot of the follow up and all the details to my VP and my managers.
Nice.
So,
and that's the second. Well, it's the second thing I wanted to talk about in terms of what creates LDD, but it's the number one culprit, which is delegation. So it sounds like you've gotten good at delegation. I want to hear more about that and what you think about delegation, because it's not easy. But we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about delegation and being relevant, because you're doing a really good job at it.
Thank you.
Live from Dig South, Perfect Day Podcast, here with Kristin Cobb of Cupcake. A perfect day is far from being about perfection. At the root of a perfect day is gratitude, even for life's mistakes. You've got the book, now get the tools. Join me for this exclusive webinar where I will teach you how to create more perfect days in your life. Welcome back to the Perfect Day Podcast. We are live here at Dig South. I'm Cokie Barini, your Perfect Day engineer, and I am here with Kristin Cobb of Cupcake. I mean, have you never had a cupcake? You gotta boogie on over to, I know you're in Bell Hall in Mount Pleasant.
Yes.
You're also on King Street. Yes. This is the flagship, yes?
Yes.
And then you're also in Columbia. Tell us, where else are you?
That's it. That's
so
my
South
dream.
Carolina.
Yes.
So in my mind, I kind of went to this place of New York, but New York was the inspiration for the idea of Cupcake, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we like that you're keeping it homegrown. So stay here in South Carolina. We need you. So at break, when we went off to break, we were talking about delegation and how important that is and how it contributes so much to lifestyle deficit disorder. Did you ever have any struggles around delegation, or is this something that came naturally to you?
I think that I always struggled with it, but if I was struggling in business, it kind of let me know. It was that little red flag that said, I'm doing too much. It's time to find someone to take this off of my plate. So I do feel like it was, I knew, if I just got to this place where I was struggling, I said.
And how about the place of like, I really hate to effing do this?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to delegate that. I mean, like, how hard and how bad do we have to get fed up with doing the things that we absolutely hate?
And I can find people that can do it better than me, so I might as well. And
isn't that the key,
yes.
right?
Yes.
It's like, let's play to our strengths and delegate the rest. So it's clear that your Eunice, we talk about Eunice in Perfect Day, it's clear that your Eunice is branding and marketing, because you've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Yes, and also, with respect to the delegation, I think that's kept you into a major sweet spot, to use a pun, a major sweet spot of staying so relevant. I mean, what you have, a cupcake seems so simple. A cupcake is a cupcake is a cupcake. But I know this is not true, because we're at Cupcake, I'm embarrassed to say, but we're probably at Cupcake maybe once a week.
Wow, good.
Yeah,
Very nice.
maybe once a week.
Thank you.
I know. Well, I've got 12 and 14-year-old girls, and we live on Long Point Road. So, not really, but just driving, the Uber mom.
Yes.
I'm driving up and down Long Point Road every day. So it's hard to not go by. So with that being said, I have been able to witness for, I think it's been almost 12 years, how you've evolved and continue to stay relevant. So how the hell do you keep a cupcake relevant? Tell us about the evolution of the cupcake and what I've seen help listeners see what you've built and how you've changed, because I love the end product. I'll just give the plug, the cake shake. Oh my God, the cake shake. Okay, so go.
So we are always trying to think of something new that relates to our brand. And I wanted to add ice cream. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, and I was actually thinking a totally different direction. But in having meetings and discussions with managers and staff, we morphed into the cake shake. And so we now have soft serve in all 3 stores. And we make a shake out of it by picking whatever flavor cupcake you might want your shake to be. So if it's blackberry mojito or salted caramel chocolate or bourbon pecan pie,
oh my God.
We just throw that in the blender with the soft serve, and you have a beautiful, wonderful concoction of cupcake and ice cream together. And we have sweet little hot pink cups that they go in that you can take home. So
that, yes, I just have to tell you, you know this, but my father brings those home more often than I'd like to share. He does share them with his grandchildren, and they are big fans of the cake shake.
He's very
so
sweet.
I've seen, I want to add some of the things of relevance that I've seen. The cake shake is a phenomenal evolution.
Thank
the
you.
theme here at DigSouth has just emerged organically, but in yesterday's podcast and today also is just about evolution, staying relevant, like you said, is like we've got to, it's the taxi cab to the Uber.
Yes.
You know, and all the techies that are here at DigSouth are doing just that and just taking us beyond. I want to table that comment because I'm wondering if tech plays any part of your relevance and success and how you've moved forward. But I want to paint a picture of what I've seen about the relevance. I mean, I've seen you with the big cupcake, and I've seen you with the normal size cupcake, and then I've seen it, I don't know if it evolved or didn't evolve, but I've seen it go into the minis, and it's like, oh yeah, like I can eat a mini, like and not have, you know.
There's no guilt.
Yeah, it's no guilt. The minis don't have any calories.
No.
They're none. They're calorie free. And then you move to the mega,
Yes.
which is awesome because you can buy one, and when you have a dinner party, you know, everyone gets a bite.
It's a celebration cupcake. Yes.
Yeah, the celebration cupcake, and they're not. It's one, so that's an awesome, you know, relevance and changing with your market.
Thanks.
And then into the cake shake, and then one of my near and dears, which you probably weren't going to tout, but I'd like to tout because a part of every perfect day for me and for readers of the book who the idea and the mindset of perfect day resonates with, they know deep within them, as I know you do, that contribution is a part of every perfect day.
Yes.
And not contributing in some way to leave this world a better place or leave your family in a better place or others. Just contributing beyond, say, financial. I mean, contributing, most people think of who can I write the check to. But I've seen, back to evolution, I've seen in my financial practice how people emerge and evolve financially to a place of like, I don't want to write a check anymore. I want to give. I really want to truly contribute. And you do that. I know that. Tell us about your leftovers, because I talk about leftovers in the book, but you have a better kind of leftover story.
Well, we bake fresh every day, so at the end of the day, we do always have leftover cupcakes that we aren't going to sell the next day. So we have organizations signed up in each of the stores that come pick up at their day. So the way it works now, and this has changed over the years, but the way it works now is there's a Monday group, a Tuesday group, a Wednesday group, and they go to different organizations, local organizations that can use them, which we love because it takes them off of our hands and it spreads a little joy around the community.
I can't tell you the joy you've seen. I've taken cupcakes down to 180 Place, and they do bring joy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different when I take a box of croissants versus I take a box of your cupcakes.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, the joy and the happiness and the smiles on their face, they're like kids in the candy store.
Yeah.
So
Good, that's great.
I love that you do that. You know, I can't stand leftovers. Meaning,
Right.
like, I hate it when I have them and they go to waste. So it's got to feel good to put the leftover cupcakes to good use. there's another way in which you contribute through your baking and your cupcakes. So share about the cupcakes.
We've just started doing cupcakes in all of the stores, and they're going over so well, and we're loving it because we get to share them with the dogs that are up for adoption at the animal shelters. We have them for sale in all of our stores. They're kind of a mini size, and now we're doing a bigger cake size too. But we donate $1 from every pack of the small ones. It's 2 in a pack to the local animal shelter. So Charleston Animal Society, and then in Columbia, we also donate to their local adoption center. And sometimes when we go, we bring the cupcakes in and we walk around and we get to feed them to all the dogs up for adoption. And it is so sweet. Can
you sign me up for that day?
Oh my gosh, talk about a great day.
Can you sign me up for that? I know, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so you're beaming. I wish listeners could see you because you're beaming right now, and it's got to be a good feeling. And that's why I talk about contribution being such a special part of every perfect day, and it being a stretch. You know, when we think about contributing, we can think about random acts of kindness and, you know, the nice things you can do for others just to make them feel better. But, you know, in the tool and the framework that I've created for people to have this idea of perfect days is my 411 concept. And with 411, I don't know if you're familiar, but you do 4 things that create a perfect day for you before 11 a.m. And that way I'm trying to give that balance and that framework to my perfect day tribe of like, so how do you do this, right? Because when I talk to people about having perfect days, they look at me like deer in the headlights of like, perfect? I'm not gonna have a perfect day. Like, perfect is impossible. I agree. I totally agree. And I agree that my type A all over the place needs some form of balance. So the way I bring that balance is getting my 4 things done for me and for my life and for what's, you know, more connected with my core values before 11. And then I just throw the rest of the day to the wind, and I get on the hamster wheel and I go, right?
Yeah.
So daring greatly and stretching with respect to contribution by doing something like a cupcake within your business is just one of the coolest things I've heard in a long time.
Thanks.
And by the way, I only have adoptees at home.
Nice.
So
nice.
yeah, I only adopt pups. So it would be a dangerous thing for me to go to the SPCA with cupcakes because you know what's going to happen, right? And it's probably not just one dog. It's probably multiple dogs. So with that, I'd love to put you on the spot with respect to a perfect day. And I have to tell you, the answer is never perfect, and the answer is always different. So what would it have to look like today for today to be a perfect day for Kristin, owner of Cupcake?
You are putting me on the spot.
But you're very good at
it. You know, this is already, doing this is really exciting, and it's fun, and it sort of challenges me because sometimes I like to sit in the corner and not really get out in the spotlight. But then when I do and I get to talk about my business, it's really rewarding for me. So doing this is great.
And by the way, this is a 411 activity. And we did it before 11.
There we go.
So it really is. Just stretching and doing things outside of your comfort zone. And I don't know how this is outside of your comfort zone because you're a natural.
Thank you.
And having new experiences.
Yes.
But you said yes, so you dared greatly, and so
because they grow you.
Yes, you know, it is about growing.
I'm learning to run towards the discomfort sometimes, and
Absolutely.
I think that's helping.
I know one thing is certain: joy does not come from comfort.
No,
joy comes from discomfort.
Yes.
So yeah, you swim in that pool, and you'll get lots and lots of joy. So. Okay, so you've given me a perfect day scenario for, say, our experience bucket or experience category. Is there something around contribution or your core or your family or like what else has to happen today for a perfect day?
It's a Friday, so I'm hoping I get to meet my husband for lunch and spend a little time outside since it's so beautiful. And I'm going to do a little bit of work, and then I'm going to go pick up my son, and we're going to celebrate the fact that it's Friday and that we have a whole weekend of sunshine ahead of us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know what I love? is it doesn't take climbing mountains to, I'm an alpine mountain climber, and people think that, summiting a mountain is part of a perfect day. Well, it was. It was a part of my perfect day that I wrote, my very first one I wrote in 2003, but it doesn't have to be grandiose. And so I love the story of what you shared about a perfect day, because one of the things you may be taking for granted is that, when you think of the phrase, when the world, gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And maybe we'd say when the world gives you white flour, you make cupcakes. Maybe, how about that one? We'll shift. So when the world gives you white flour, you make cupcakes. But you've got to have the foundation for the cupcake. You've got to have it on your back. Again, also an alpine climber, I put on the big backpack, and you've got to have it ready. And so you're already geared up, ready for an awesome lunch with your husband, and picking up your child and having a great relationship with your child. But those relationships take work. And you have that foundation. I mean, there's people who sit across from me that might want to aspire to have a great, afternoon Friday lunch with their husband, but maybe they're not in such a great spot.
Right.
So it takes having that backpack on constantly and constantly grooving those relationships to be able to go, yes, I want to do this, and have a perfect day in a very simple way.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I love that you shared that. And if you want to hear more about 411 The Framework, I do Facebook Live on Mondays and Wednesdays from my Facebook page, Perfect Day Connect, so at Perfect Day Connect. Also, you can tune into this podcast and many others at CokieBarini.com. We're on Stitcher and iTunes. It's probably easier for you to find us on CokieBarini.com. And lastly, Kristin, I think you should share with us how everyone can look you up online or Insta, because I know your feeds are great. Yes,
you can find us at freshcupcakes.com and at Cupcake DownSouth.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, yeah, your Insta page is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, and I thank you so much for coming today. It's been a blast. We've been here with Kristin Cobb of Cupcake, live from Dig South on the Perfect Day podcast.